Good morning, Cassie from Remax here. Today I have Simon Cross from Hyperion Risk to talk to us about insurance. Simon, can you tell us a bit about yourself and the company?
Yeah, hi, good morning. So my name is Simon Cross. I've been in the BVI now for nearly 9 years. I work for insurance brokers called Hyperion Risk Solutions Ltd. We've been in the Caribbean and the BVI for around 15 years. Historically, we've had a focus on financial and professional lines insurance, so a lot of professional negligence, directors and officers liability and the like, so we do a lot of solutions for lawyers and accountants. But about 5 years ago, we started delving a bit more into property insurance, and that really...
Right when Irma happened.
Yeah, exactly. So I was actually pretty quiet when Irma happened, but many people were coming to me and my colleagues to say, can you help us with our claim? We don't understand why we were offered substandard claim settlements.
It's always so complicated to me. Maybe you can explain that later.
It's not everybody's favourite subject, but it's a very important part. So in the wake of Irma, we actually helped many people here in the BVI, despite them not being our clients, but we helped them maximise their claims. And then obviously subsequent to that, people said to us, look, can you help us with our property insurance? And so we've grown the book gradually, have a specific focus really on higher value property and a very low volume, because we wanted to retain that model where we can really service our clients and expedite any claims processes. I will take a lot of time to make sure that people understand what they're parting their money with. I'm more than happy to chat through policy wording just to make sure people are absolutely comfortable with what they're buying.
Yeah, I think that's very important as professional who can explain the terms and condition to you, because we don't know how good an insurance product or company is until you need the claim, and that's really important is the process is done properly. So what sorts of home or real estate insurance policy do you guys offer?
Yeah, so we will offer all solutions for property owners, whether they be commercial properties or homeowners, villa complexes. And
so you do both, like villa rental kind of cover as well?
Absolutely. Third-party liability insurance is something that landlords really need to pay close attention to, in addition to their property exposure. So I'm aware of a $19 million claim that occurred in Turks and Caicos. Somebody fell from an infinity pool and they managed to sue that landlord in a New York court.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, if the exposure is less if you're doing long-term renters who live here, there's not much nexus to the US there, of course.
Yeah.
But if you find somebody from the New York who has a New York lawyer, they're going to be on their back saying, let me bring this claim for you in a New York court. And if you buy an insurance policy that just offers standard liability as a little bolt-on, that policy will only defend you in a BVI court. So it's pretty limited cover. So I offer my high net worths and people that have a high exposure to US residents when they rent out their property. I can get a policy from Lloyd's of London that will protect them in courts anywhere in the world. So
anywhere in the world.
It's a really important thing because you don't want to lose your home. Obviously, if you have a limited company, then your exposure is limited to your assets in that company. But if you own the home in your own name, then of course your liability could be all of your assets. You have to really take quite good care in your liability insurance as well as your property cover.
Well, that's almost scary, but I'm glad we have Simon here who can help. What's the procedure like? When should people start getting in touch with you to get to know the product or start the procedure? Don't
leave it to the last minute.
Like before they buy a house, or?
Yeah, definitely. The moment you've got an idea as to what the reinstatement cost should be, we can get to work with some indications for you.
So do they need to bring an appraisal to you?
That is most definitely a really important tool, and it ensures that we cover your property accurately, and it also allows us to tailor the cover. So a survey will provide an itemised breakdown of the elements that make up your property, so your patios, your driveways, retaining walls, and if there are certain elements in there that you are comfortable bearing the risk for yourself, we can exclude cover for those items and we can reduce your premium spend and tailor your cover accordingly. Of course, if you have a mortgage, then your lender often stipulates the level of cover that you need, so you may not have that same degree of flexibility.
Right, I see.
But the survey definitely allows us to make sure we do things accurately, properly, and we'll try and fine tune the premium where we can.
I see you touch base on how having an appraiser is really helpful to get people to correctly insure their property. Can you let us know why is it so important to have it correctly insured?
Yeah, because ultimately you want your insurance policy to respond in the way in which you think it will, right? And throughout the Caribbean, all property policies have a condition called average, which comes into play if underinsurance is present. So as a very simple equation, if you underinsure by half of the property's true rebuild cost, you'll get half of your claim settlement minus your deductible. So it's a proportionate discount against a claim settlement depending on how underinsured you are. So a survey allows for us to ensure that your sums are accurate to up-to-date reinstatement costs. The frequency is increasing because of the volatility in the costs of construction at the moment with the war in Ukraine and COVID. So we're now, instead of once every 3 years, the rule of thumb is once every 2, maybe a little earlier, more frequently, I'm afraid. But the flip side of that is that if you have a total loss from an earthquake, you will have the necessary funds to rebuild. Whereas if you just stick with your old survey, stick with your old sums insured, and the worst happens, you're going to fall well short of having the necessary funds that you need.
So you were just saying about the average in the Caribbean. So they still kind of get half if they insure half.
Wow.
Or there are cases that the claim was denied completely because the estimate and what they are paying is just way too off the margin.
They wouldn't deny the claim entirely necessarily, but the average condition is active in all policies unless otherwise stated. So, you know, what's the point in paying your premium when your policy is just not going to provide you with what you need?
Full coverage,
right. And plus the bank will stipulate that, you know, you maintain accurate cover to 100% of the reinstatement cost. So you have your obligations there as well. The appraisal is also a really useful tool in the wake of a storm or a disaster when it comes to making a claim, because often adjusters, they are flown in from overseas, they can have their own interpretation as to what the cost per square foot
they might not be familiar with the BVI market.
So it helps alleviate any of those initial it helps quell any disputes and makes for the most streamlined of claims process as possible. So it just ticks a lot of boxes in making your life far easier.
What kind of timeline is there for the claim or like for the application process?
Yeah, so starting from the beginning, I mean, if I have a new reinstatement survey, or at least a recent one, we can get somebody on cover the same day, not a problem.
Same day, okay.
Oh yeah, not a problem. But like we've just experienced, if there is a storm approaching, insurers will cease writing new business. So this goes back to not wanting to leave things to the last minute. You just, you know, it's best just to get your ducks in a row early so that you know that you're set for the season, and that's just one thing off your checklist. But no, if I have everything, we can get you on cover same day. Likewise, if you're putting in an offer for a property and it's going through a process, even if you're just able to send me the link of the property and a rough estimate as to the value to reinstate, to rebuild, then I can offer indicative terms just so you've got something, you know,
to start reviewing.
Right, and you can budget accordingly.
How does it work when it comes to renewal? Is it automatic or do you reach out to them?
It's definitely not automatic, no. It's a fresh opportunity to review your current scenario. Have you made any changes to your property? Are there anything that you've done that might influence an underwriter's perspective of the property, right?
Putting a hazardous material around.
Right, well there's that, or sometimes
extra direct costs that might fly in.
But as well, you know, you need to be careful that if you have made an alteration, has it increased your value, and then may you be subjected to the condition of average. So it's always best to do things accurately, you know, and that goes for contents as well. You want to review your sums insured for your contents if that's a cover that you have, because average can apply to contents. I mean, with our policies, it's new for old, so the sum insured should reflect the cost to replace the items inclusive of shipping and tax.
Okay,
so
inclusive.
yeah. So that's the sum. So it's a chance to assess the situation, ensure that for the forthcoming 12 months everything's going to be done on an accurate basis, policy is going to respond how you want it to. We will reach out to our clients in good time, usually between a month and 2 months, and we'll assess the situation. We'll see if the survey is still acceptable, offer renewal terms reflective of the forthcoming 12 months and in the most accurate way we can.
I think we are coming to the most important question for our homeowner audience. What's the estimate cost of the standard home insurance policy?
We only use AM Best A-rated insurers, so the very, very strongest. Rates in the BVI at the moment are relatively consistent throughout the territory, regardless of the financial strength of the insurer. So really, with nothing much in it, it pays to go with the strongest companies. But to get to your question, I mean, for a well-elevated property, that plays a big role, how close to the sea it is. I mean, your lowest rate is in the region of 1.35 to 1.4%, and that's with the lowest catastrophic perils deductible of 2%.
Okay.
So that's the contribution you would have to make towards any claim. There's no physical change of money, it's just deducted from your claim settlement. And but what we try and do is, if there are multiple buildings on site, we can actually apply that deductible on a per building basis, so you're not paying a 2% of the entire value of all the buildings. If one of the buildings is just damaged on its own, you're just paying the 2% reflective of that value. So there's ways that we can still try and make it as attractive as we possibly can. Unfortunately, for less elevated properties that are beachfront, they're the ones that are paying the most premiums. And you're looking at probably more like 1.5, 1.6 in that area at the moment. You know, get in touch. More than happy to help.
We'll link Simon's contact detail below.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, Simon, for coming to talk to us about all these questions today. Feel free to reach out to him. He will be so happy to help with answering any question, or if you are ready to take out a new policy.